And we're here and we're live once again Monday. Lunch and learn. Stay hungry, get your knowledge. Waiting on our co-host to join us momentarily. How's everybody? Hope everyone had a great weekend. I had a good weekend. I was actually at the Westmont Carnival. Went to the Westmont Carnival, took the kids. They had a good time. Weather wasn't, it was hot, but it wasn't too humid. So that was cool. And look who we got. Miss Peavy.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain.
I hear that. How hear that? How was your weekend?
Fast. Is it just me or is the time moving extremely fast?
It's always fast when you're having fun.
Is that what it is? Well, let me slow it down then. Let me slow it down.
What'd you do? I just I told everybody I was at the Westmont Carnival. I went to the Westmont Carnival
Okay.
yesterday. What'd you do?
So I actually was supposed to go outside. This weekend was the chosen few picnic for those house heads out there.
Mm.
But I didn't get a chance because initially I was just gonna bite the bullet and pay for the tickets and go. But I end up staying at home. I chilled, relaxed, went working out, went to a track out here. I'm in the further south side of Chicago or the Chicagoland area. Went out to Indiana. It's a park out there called Centennial Park.
Mm.
Beautiful sightseeing, just walked and enjoyed nature.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. No, it's we're so we're put in the house for 6 months because it's so cold. Might as well have
Exactly.
a little fun. Funny you brought up the chosen few, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I down my Facebook feed, noticed some people that were there and they were filming a little Facebook Live and check me out. Look what I'm doing. I'm dancing and some good house music. How long?
Oh
How long?
yeah, it's a. Go ahead.
No, no. I was going to ask, like, has that been ongoing? I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, it's been going on for a very long time now. I can't give you exactly how long, but what I will say, it initially started off where it was a free event.
Hmm.
Okay, it used to be free. Now this year the tickets were $100.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, so every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it is a full-fledged concert production now. Back in the day, it was just some DJs got together. They were playing, they brought some speakers together. So now it is a true, like if you were going to an actual concert. So they have a
Nice.
stage, they have vendors that come out. So it's a real big thing now.
Is it BYOB or how does it work?
Yes, you can bring in. You pay for those that are bringing in like a tent. Some people bring in grills. You bring your chairs. You can bring your own. So in case somebody that doesn't come with a group that's set up like that, then of course they have the vendors that are there, so you can still get you something to eat.
Got you. Okay. So you can really have a picnic, bring out the family, listen to good music.
Exactly. Exactly. So
No, that's. I
it's a
feel
full
like
fledged fun thing.
I feel like almost you really can't go outside into a venue and an event without spending $100.
And I don't know, when did that happen? We went from a recession in the pandemic to now things is crazy. Man, it's and everything from food to gas to clothes, everything is a lot more expensive now.
No doubt, no doubt. And so that actually, segues to a perfect topic that we're speaking on today. Especially being self-employed and budgets and bookkeeping. So
Yeah.
definitely wanted you to introduce yourself to the audience. Just what you do on a regular basis.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Yolanda Peavy. I am owner and founder of Fix It Financial Solutions. For me, I've been an entrepreneur since 2018. So I initially got in the game as an individual selling life insurance. The dreaded thing nobody wants to talk about, but everybody needs to talk about. And that's actually how I met Dante. So in that space, for me, I learned about the power of life insurance. I'm still licensed to this day. So for me, my goal, and it is still today, is to educate, right? We don't know what we don't know. So in the space of life insurance, understanding how you can use that component to, even in the aspect of purchasing a home, you can pull money out of that policy. You can also live off that policy. We are all now striving towards retirement, right? So, and if you don't have the right vehicles in place, guess what? Uncle Sam is going to consistently always be in your pocket, and you're not going to like it. So we now need to make sure that we're planning appropriately. I am now in the space of helping small business owners prepare their business, right? I take care of the back of the house. And that's the important piece, i.e., bookkeeping, making sure that we're understanding what money is coming into the business and what money is going out of the business. In the same aspect, when you're ready to purchase a commercial piece of property and you're sitting down with Dante, he's going to ask you for documents like a balance sheet. He's going to ask you for a P&L. So you cannot come to a traditional bank, a mortgage, anybody and say, hey, I'm ready. They're not going to take your bank statements, right? So when we're in the space of being looked at, being considered to be an actual business, we need to run our business like a business, like a corporation. And that includes having a bookkeeper. So I've been in this space now for 3 years. I also do tax strategy, tax preparation, also in that space. Again, for me, is we didn't get to the space of being an entrepreneur, taking that title on, or, sticking our chests out to say we're an entrepreneur and not understanding how to manage our money effectively, right? We have to get into the space of, when we have businesses, guess what? None of that money flows through the tax system. So when that happens, Uncle Sam is very excited. And this is why, if you notice and you have your business structured the proper way, they want to give you money. And when I say they, traditional banks, CDFIs, credit unions, they want to give you money because they understand the power of small business owners, right? We're likely to hire within our community to make sure that money is flowing within the community. So that way there's not as many people on government assistance, right? It's a big circle. So they know exactly what they're doing. But in order to make sure that you're managing that money appropriately, we have to have the right team around us. So a bookkeeper is key. It's essential. So again, you can't sit down with Dante and say, hey, here's my bank statements. This is how much money I got in my account. He's not going to sit there and go through 12 months or 24 months of bank statements to identify exactly the health of your business. So my job is to help you understand, making sure that, far as from a cost analysis perspective, we're in the right space. When it comes to buying new equipment or adding on software, bringing on employees, you have to know what the health of your business is in order to say that you can afford that.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, you obviously said a lot in there, so let's try to unpack some of it. When do you feel like, and I'm curious on this, obviously, as a business owner myself, when do you feel like the moment a person has a business and then they want to transfer it to like being a real business? Like, what's the difference between a hobby and a business in your estimation? Like, when do you know you got something?
Okay, so you know what, the amazing thing that is happening right now is we have social media, right? Social media is a beast. It is allowing people to reach financial goals within days and sometimes even hours, depending on the product that you're pushing or you have. So for me, what I tell people, let's keep this simple. When you see that you're netting a profit of $3,000 consecutively for 3 months, it is now time for you to sit down with somebody. Okay. At that point, you are now able to financially support having a bookkeeper. Okay. So again, bookkeepers range in price depending on how much involvement you need for them. Because for me, I'm not like an everyday bookkeeper. So I have the tax knowledge, the strategy piece behind it, as well as the finance and the numbers piece of it. So it depends on what you're looking for from your bookkeeper. If you're just looking for somebody to just simply go in, categorize, so that way you can get your reports, that will vary in price, right?
Sure.
What I can say is you should vet a bookkeeper just like you vet anybody else. Okay. I am, like I said, I've been in this space now for 3 years, and because you can make some money from it. A lot of people jumped in it, but they really don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And so they're jacking up. And when I say jacking up, they're not categorizing things correctly. They're not adding things to the books correctly to ensure that your health of your business is being shown on those reports. So when you hit that mark of 3,000 net, so that's your gross minus your expenses, we're going to get that net profit, that 3,000 mark. Then at that point, let's start to interview and vet out a bookkeeper so that way we can keep you going and scaling the business. Because what typically tends to happen is once we get that 3,000, now we're adding on more software, we're adding more apps in, we're doing this and that, and you're not even paying attention or managing the money that's going out now. Because you just see this money sitting there like, oh, I got to spend it, I got to do something with it in order to make some money. And sometimes that money is just being wasted. And so with the appropriate bookkeeper, now we're managing those expenses for you. Like, hey, I noticed you just added on these 5 or 6 different softwares. Does it make sense? Are they doing the same thing? Because again, as a business owner, we get tons of emails. Try this, free trial. Let's look at this, see if this, and you're just clicking and adding and not realize you got 5 apps doing the same thing. And now one of them costs $100, another one costs $2.99. One, and the money is just flying out. And now you're like, wait, where's all my money going? Right. So again, I think we want to get to that 3K for 3 consecutive months. Now let's start interviewing so we can get somebody on board to help you manage it.
What I hear from you is accountability partner.
Yes.
And having someone, and I felt like you were talking about me, because I was sure when the AIs were coming out and it's Otter AI here, oh great, I could do this, and oh I could do this, and then before you know it, you're spending almost $300-$500 a month on stuff that you're not even using 2 to 3 months down the road. If I would have had the accountability partner say, hey Dante, let's pause, good idea, let's see if you really need it. That might be a recipe for you to pump the brakes, slow down. It may not be, it's a cool product, but it's not something that you necessarily need right away. So accountability partner is huge, especially in a business, because we're all trying to figure out a way to make your business grow.
Absolutely.
And that's the hard part, is really learning how to scale a business, and which way is going to be the best way to make that happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm curious on so you were talking, if there's a thing called EBITDA.
I haven't heard of this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just like from a business a strength, like to evaluate a business, like how strong your business is, because sometimes when financing comes into play, I know that we get solicitations here. They always want to see like 3 months of $5,000 will help generate like maybe lines of credit or business lines of credit. Are you familiar with any of those types of things?
So when it comes to business credit, business funding, I looked at real dark, so I'm sorry, y'all, I had to change this lighting up a little bit. Business credit, especially when you're first getting started, it's very important that from a personal perspective, you're in the right place. Okay. So you hear a lot of times, I just opened this business. Again, it's a gift and a curse with social media. You go out here and get your $50,000 on, all you need is your EIN. There is some truth to that. However, here in this geocoding of Illinois, and I'm going to use the S, Illinois.
Oh, man.
Okay. That is not as easily given. Okay. Sure. So you're going to still need to be your grantor of that loan, or of that you trying to get something from a traditional bank. Now, there are what are called CDFIs, and they're not your traditional banks, but they work with small businesses, and their requirements or criteria is a lot not as stressful as a traditional bank. Okay. So they will still, like, they literally have startup money that they've gotten from the federal government that they want to give out to startups. Now, they may require you, of course, you don't have any money, right? You just started. You don't even have a client yet. You don't even have a customer yet. So What they're going to look for is maybe a business plan they're going to need to look at your personal activity. Like if you are a W-2 employee, you're just starting to get your business off the ground. So they're going to still use you as the core of your business until you start to establish something first. So
Sure.
I will always tell any business owner, make sure from a personal perspective that you're okay. And when I say okay, most banks, if you're going to a traditional bank and you're trying to get lines of credit, you're trying to get credit cards, they're going to look at a minimum of, I would tell you, 620 credit score.
Sure.
And that's on the low end. They prefer it to be 680. Okay. And they prefer you not to have any, any collections, any write-offs, any late payments, when they're now when you're going to a traditional bank. But again, I recommend all new small business owners go to a CDFI. And you can actually just Google CDFI and it's going to come up with all of the CDFIs that are near you. And then, like I said, their criteria is a lot different.
And actually, CDFIs actually have product lines for mortgages. So we
Yes.
actually have two approved lenders that we work with that are CDFI approved and certified. And so it's real unique products, which is really exciting. The hard part about business and personal and even just the mortgage business, right? I mean, is like in the mortgage business, we go off of a gross income. But then we not penalized, but we're a little bit more scrutiny is involved with someone that's self-employed because we know you can manipulate the numbers. So we're really looking at your net. We want to look at your adjusted gross income, so after all your little write-offs, and we only give a small slither of things that we can add back. We can add back depreciation, but real a small slither of what we can add back. So that's troubling too, from a bookkeeping tax idea of here, let me have these write-offs, let me write these things off to help me better improve my tax liability, but then I'm trying to qualify for a mortgage. It's
Correct.
two different animals, and that's where the communication, what you're saying, financial team, having this good financial team, because we need to strategize on what is the documentation you're going to be providing in the upcoming year, or to really make sure you qualify for a home.
Correct. And again, I know I tell my clients this all the time, but in order to get debt, you have to have debt, right? So any mortgage company, any bank that you're trying to acquire funding from, they want to see if you have debt and have you paid it? Have you paid it on time? If
Right.
it's paid off, were there any late payments in order for you to qualify for more debt? So again, debt is not a bad thing.
No.
Again, as a entrepreneur, right? Our goal is not to pay Uncle Sam all of our hard-earned money that we made throughout the year. But again, everything can't be written off. I made absolutely no money. Matter of fact, I'm in a hole.
Right.
So at that point, it's like, okay, as a bank, and you bring me that number that you're actually negative, why would I want to give you more money? Why would I
Exactly.
extend a mortgage to you and you can't even pay what you already have? So,
Yeah. No, I mean, where I'm at right here, the corporate office, I bought this. I bought this and I had to go to a bank, because it was a commercial location, and it was a situation where they asked for 3 years of tax returns, and then they wanted me to, everything you said, business plan. And they wanted me to have a projection, a 5-year projection of where is this business going to be within 5 years,
yeah.
and trying to hold me accountable along the way. And it was like, 5 years, like I'm just trying to get out of next month. So, I mean, obviously it's really intense sometimes, especially trying to get a bank loan, and you got to find a bank that is, has an appetite for that type of business.
Yes.
You just can't go to any bank and be like, hey, this is, I do laundry mats. It's like, hey, we don't like laundry mats. We've maybe
Correct.
had a bad experience. Maybe someone has failed. Obviously real estate is hot or cold. It's really an extreme type of business. So sometimes they didn't have an appetite. I went to probably 2 or 3. I had the credit, but man, they didn't want to mess with me. They were like, nah, no, we don't like anything mortgage, real estate, so finding that right place is very important too. That can, deal with your unique situation on what you want to do. Do you have any preference on franchises or actually owning your own? Because obviously you're entrepreneur, you've kind of started your own from scratch. any preferences between franchise or business owner?
Um, actually, I don't have a preference. I think it's more for me working with them from a bookkeeping perspective. I don't have a preference. For me, it's more or less what my client is getting into and that they understand. So, being a single member LLC or even a partnership, understanding what you're getting into, right? Even with
Hmm.
a franchise, you're buying into a name.
Hmm.
Understand what comes along with that name, understanding what obstacles you're going to face when you're buying into a brand. The same thing with a small business owner. I have worked with people that are single member, then I have worked with partners. And again, the pandemic did some very amazing things. It gave a lot of people the hope and the courage to jump out on faith and start that business. But again, it goes back to my saying, we don't know what we don't know.
Sure.
I have people that work together, but they do not have an operations agreement, right? And again, this is something that a bank could ask you for, right?
100%.
This is again, if everything hits the fan, this operations agreement is what you're standing on, and
Right.
understanding the importance of that, making sure that if there is a partnership, that your partner has just as much skin in the game as you do. Everybody's ideas are amazing until you actually got to bring them to fruition. And some
True.
people are more on the execution side, and some people are more on the visionary side, and understanding what your gifts and strengths are, because it can make it difficult for me as a bookkeeper trying to understand your vision and how to make sure that I hold you in the space of, okay, no, this is what you guys shared that you want your business to grow to. Same thing with a franchise. Okay, your goal in the next 3 years is to buy 3 more franchises. Okay, what are we doing to ensure that we're doing what's necessary here to follow the SOPs of this franchise in order for us to buy more franchises? So I don't have a preference.
Yeah, I had a podcast with a guy that owned Robex. Robex was a smoothie company. He had two locations. He actually recently just sold both of them, but it was a franchise. And so the structure, this is how much cups cost. This is your vendors. Really spelling out everything for you. So it was really just here, give me this money. This upfront start capital. Which can be expensive, right? I mean, I know at one time, Jiffy Lube is a franchise, Subways are franchises. And I mean, you're talking about six figures that you're giving up front because they're saying, hey, our brand is this strong. All you have to
Correct.
do is just plug and play. But when you plug and play, we're going to give you all this, knowledge, all this, structure,
Training.
cookie, yeah,
Yep.
training, really going to teach you how to manage this business. And obviously you've seen Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq talked about he owned like 170 Jimmy Johns or something like that. It's just crazy, just the amount you can start, really diversifying to. But needless to say, if you have an idea, if you have that creative mind in your brain, like, hey, I thought it would be great if I had the chicken dance outside, or hey, I thought it'd be great, to go to, if they don't approve it, you can't
You
do it.
can't do it
You
at
come up
all.
with a different flavor, they say no, it's over.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't we get some snow cones, instead? I think that'd be no, you can't sell snow cones at Subway.
Not at
They're not
all.
going to go with that. So it is one of those things. If you have that creative mind, it can be a kind of a detriment. It kind of hinders you
Yeah.
because you can't really flow like you normally would want to flow.
Yeah. I mean, I would say to that if you, again, understanding that you're buying into a brand, and as you
Right.
mentioned, you're buying into something that's going to automatically, well, with the right location, is guaranteed to give you a return on your investment, right? So for me, it'll be more of, okay, you're opening this franchise to then turn around and open up something on your own. Okay. Like, work smart, not hard, right? When
Right.
you're buying into a franchise, you're buying into, again, something that's already a machine that's moving. You just got, like you said, plug and play and use the resources from that to turn
Right.
around and go ahead and open a snow cone and chicken dance and whatever else your mind is
Right.
creatively doing. But
Right.
you always now have this consistent stream of income coming in while you're building out that other vision that you have.
Yeah, it's I'm fascinated by the end result. I'm an end result type of guy, and at the end of the day, where are we running to? Where are we going to? And so I watch people from afar and I'm just curious. I'm curious of like, what is your intentions? Are you trying to have 175 locations? Are you, or are they not generating enough income on just one? Like, what is the ultimate goal? And unfortunately, we don't really get that unless you get to know someone. Because, sometimes I'm like, is that just too much, or like what are you trying to prove here? From because I think it's all taking it back to dollars and cents. It should be about a certain amount of money that you're trying to make, and to maintain your lifestyle, and then have enough quote unquote net worth, and then just relax. But so it is interesting to see, like, is there not enough per location, and so you have to keep expanding? Or do you have these grandiose kind of visions, like you want to be the next Hilton, you want to be the next Wyndham, or whatever, or the Win, or whatever the case is? So it's interesting.
I think it's a combination, right? I think sometimes things are like not so much dropped in our lap, but we may come across, or we pull 25, $30,000 out of our 401k, because now we like, hey, I'm getting close to retirement. I need to do something that's going to still bring in a stream of income. And you go and you open up a Harold's Chicken, right? Because it's not as expensive to open a Harold's. But again, location is key when it comes to Harold's, right? Sure. So that's something that it's more or less of, I'm jumping in it to, yes, make me another stream of income, but not realizing this could be a very lucrative thing if I just, get the right people around me to Sure. continue it, right? So I think it's understanding that your environment, your circle of influence is huge. Especially when you're trying to step out in that space of being an entrepreneur. I tell my clients all the time, if you are around people that have more than you, they're going to make you. It's right. Just an internal drive that you're going to get to say, hey, you can't outdo me. I'm right. going to be the next just like you, or even more. But Correct. If you're around naysayers and why this and why, you're going to end up doing the same thing. So it's, I know a lot of people, just my clients and others, that have literally just jumped out there on a whim and was just like, okay, well, I mean, I know how to do it, but don't understand all of the moving parts. And that's why, again, your circle is very key, because they're going to educate you. They're going to, push you. They're going to say, hey, you should go over here to this workshop. You probably should do this program, because it's only going to help you be better as far as from a business standpoint.
I love that. When you were saying that, it reminded me of taste buds. Okay. And, it's like, if you stay away from salty foods, and then all of a sudden you go maybe 30 days, you get it into a habit, 21 days. And then maybe next month you haven't had salt for a whole month, and you try something salty, and you're like, ugh, it's nasty, because you've reconditioned yourself. And so taste buds, in the same reference as people. Yes. If you're around people that are positive, trying to conquer the world, doing successful things, it's hard to even listen to someone that's doom and gloom, woe is me, because I know this for a fact, because I try to be more of a problem solver. I'm a professional problem solver. So anytime you complain, well, why don't we do this? Or why don't you do this? I'm coming in my head rapid fire, 4, 5, 6 things that, hey, why don't we do this? And then when you're like, well, it might be easy for you, or then all right, best of luck to you. We keep it moving.
Yep.
Harold's Chicken, is funny you brought that up, because I read that article. There's a new Harold's in Oak Lawn.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, they just opened up a new Harold's in Oak Lawn. They were talking to the guy, and then I just looked it up here. It says the initial investment for Harold's Chicken franchise can range from $103,965 to $180,665. So, I mean, that's what we talk about with franchises. I mean, is that cost is pretty much 6-figure, cost. And it's funny because, just becoming a business owner, everyone has different reasons, but I think the majority of people they don't like to be told what to do, or they think they have a sense of, I think I know how to do it. I guess I just related to myself. There's just times that I just felt like, man, I can do this. I can do this. you listen to a manager or an owner, and you just like, you mimic them for maybe a year, 6 months or so. And then once you start getting, well, why don't you do, I see where you're making mistakes. Why don't you do, no, just shut up and do your job, and,
Exactly.
and that's when it's like, no, I don't need to shut up and do my job. I could probably do your job.
Hmm.
And let me just show you I could do your job. So I think a lot of self-employed people really are just people that just don't like to be told what to do, kind of stubborn in nature, and then they decide to, really start their own.
Which
Is that
are
what you
all
see?
good. I mean, I think those are all good characteristics to have, right? Especially when you're starting off. We so many times, because again, the gift and curse of social media, get lost in the sauce, right? We fall down a rabbit hole. We start to look at pictures. We start to look at this, and what you're seeing is highlight reels, right? Any of us that's been in the entrepreneur space, this it's grind time, right? You work more and harder, longer hours, pulling hair out, no sleep as an entrepreneur because you're building the vision. When you were working in someone's already vision that they had already spent hours and time and years to bring to fruition. So you now have to put in the time, right? Again, just depending on if it's a product or if it's a concept or if it's a strategy, you still have to get it out there because nobody knows. So,
Right.
understanding that being not taking no for an answer, understanding that you're going to have some doors closed in your face, all of that you got when you worked in corporate America are the same characteristics and the same things you're going to need in order for you to be successful as an entrepreneur because you're going to hear no. You not right now. That's yep. That's cute. Yep. I like your little business. Yep. You're
Sure.
gonna hear all of that. But you can't allow that. Just like when you were at your 9 to 5, and your boss is telling me, yeah, that's a good concept, and then they turn around and take it.
Yeah.
For their own. So you
Yeah.
still have to have all of those same drives, all of those characteristics, all of that tenacity is what's gonna make you stand out because I hear so many times of somebody is already doing that. And when I hear that, I say, okay, I want next time you go to the grocery store, I want you to go down the bread aisle. How many different types of the same type of bread is in that aisle? And
That's great.
every last one of them are getting bought because if it wasn't, they wouldn't still be on the shelf.
Facts.
So just because somebody is doing the same idea that you have, guess what? They're not going to do it the way that you are.
Yeah.
So, again, you can only lead people to the water that you can't make them drink it. And
Sure.
so, yeah, I get the same thing because of the nature of what I do. I do have to be a problem solver. I do have to be a strategist with people. And you do get entrepreneurs that will get stuck in a rut. I
Sure.
tried that and it didn't work. Yeah, okay. Well, you let me
Yeah.
know how you want me to assist you in this space.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to first ignite on saying, I need an accountability partner. I
Yes.
need someone that is going to be by my side because I don't have all the answers. You know, uh, that's my Kanye right there. You ain't got all the answers, Sway. You
But
ain't
that's
got all the
that's
answers.
huge though. Like you said,
Man, I related
that's
to that.
in its maturity, right? It's professional maturity when you get to the space. Um, I can't do it all. I tell my clients, I
Correct.
get it because I was in that same space where I didn't have money to pay for nobody. The marketing, social media, sales, you're everybody when you first get started. And so that's why I gave the number depending on what you're trying to do, where you need to go. Because it is very important as the visionary of your business,
Right.
that is what you excel in, right? You
Right.
excel in stepping into your lane of being a visionary. This is where this business is going. Now
Right.
you just have to get the right people around you that support that vision to push it. Because again, you're out building relationships. You're shaking hands and kissing babies so people can understand your brand.
Right.
And so in order for that brand to come to fruition, you have to have the team behind you.
Yeah, I think from a business perspective, and once again, no shape, way, or form am I at the end of the road. I'm still trying to build and grow, but I think you do have to reverse engineer. So you have a vision of where you want to be, And then
Absolutely.
you have to kind of work backwards from there, saying, okay, this is the end result. This is how it looks. This is what we got going on. And it can change, it can morph. Instead of a blue background, it might be black background. It
Correct.
can kind of morph and change, but you still have to have kind of a vision. And I read a book, like The Energy Bus. You still are going to want to create that momentum that you're talking about. And who wants to get on this bus with me? Who wants to get on this journey with me? Because this is where I'm going. Do you want to come with me? Do you want to be a
Hmm.
part of something that, yes, but it's me selling my dream for you,
Correct.
within you, because I know I can get there with you. And once you can do that, and you got to keep moving, stay positive. You got to get people that are really aligned. That gets hard. It's much easier when you can kind of control when it's smaller numbers. But
Yeah.
really, if you want to scale to some levels, you have to hire and get bigger and bigger. And so you really just have to have good principles, good, systems in place to really grow a business. And I never, and then truthfully, I've always had financial team. We've always talked about that on these shows, but I never thought of a bookkeeper as someone a part of there. But things that you're saying today really resonate, of just having that accountability part, of someone that can be a part of this business, and be another set of eyes to just look at these numbers and be like, hey, we spent too much money on this. We need to try to cut this off. Or having someone to be able to kind of look at the business from that perspective, especially if you're, one thing I did recognize, or I've learned, there's a difference between a business owner and a business operator.
Hmm.
And a business owner, once again, using Shaq is a business owner. Hey, I got multiple businesses, but I don't even know how many I got.
Right.
I got the money, I put the capital in, boom, boom, boom. I found a general manager that was passionate in it and let him do his thing and manage it. But I own all these businesses. But a business operator, which, really applies to you and I, you're working your business.
Absolutely.
You are working your business every day and if you don't get up and you don't wake up and ready to go, ain't no money coming in.
At all. At
And so
all.
it's all on you. A business operator is really who we're speaking about today, is that person that needs to get up and make it happen for them, not only for their company, but for their, for their family. And
Yeah.
so that business operator, really has to reverse engineer that business, start from where you want it to be, and then work your way to the front of what you need to have. And I like that with the bookkeeping. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's understanding that the goal is to get to Shaq, right? To be the business owner, right?
Sure.
But in order to get there, your team is going to play a very vital part in that. So again, you will have to spend some money to make sure that you have the right people in place, because
Right.
as you're growing, as you're expanding, you're trying to go to another state, you can't be in two places at once. How I
Correct.
wish we could, but we can't. And so that's when the team comes into place, understanding that for me as a bookkeeper, my job is to lower expenses and not to change the experience of your customer. So, whatever your customer is, even if it's online or in person, if us removing some expenses is going to negatively impact that customer, we need to keep it.
Right.
Now we just need to justify it in your price. So we may need to look at price analysis again. So it's just, again, bookkeepers, we play a lot of different roles depending on the bookkeeper. Okay. Because some bookkeepers like, look, I don't do nothing but going in and categorize some transactions. That's it. That's all. Don't ask me. I can run your reports and tell you about your reports. That's it.
Right.
And then you have some of us that are a little bit more involved and understand what it is from the back office perspective is needed in order for you to see your business scale.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is so important. And just making the right decisions, because you don't, it's like, sometimes I listen to podcasts and interviews, and you're talking to business owners, and it seems like the guests, or the host, I should say, always wants to ask the question, when did you know? When did you know to make that next jump? When did you know to make that next leap? And a lot of people just don't know how to, like, they don't know. It's just like you have a feeling, but I don't think it's a feeling. I think it is your team around you say, hey, it's time.
Exactly.
The numbers make
Exactly.
sense.
I think, and I hopefully when people see this particular podcast, that they'll be able to understand the importance. Um, Again, everybody is not the same. You should vet just like you vet anybody else when it
Hmm.
comes to understanding the importance of your money, right? I extremely um sincerely sit down with my clients to understand that they understand the significance of what is coming into your business, what is going out to your business. Like, you have to know that if you're not managing that, you're setting yourself up for not success. Okay, you're setting yourself up for failure, because how can you at that point say, hey, I have 3 contracts? Is 3 enough? Is 10
Mm,
enough? Is 15 enough? It speaks
right.
to, working backwards, right? So when you're, and this goes into pricing, how do you know if your price is right? How do you know if what your fee is the right amount? Time is one of those important things that we have
Sure.
that we don't sometimes honor or appreciate. When we're in this space as entrepreneurs, your time is very vital. It's so important. It's extreme. It just blows my mind sometimes how entrepreneurs can waste time on things that are not helping them bring awareness to their brand, or
Sure.
awareness to the product, or awareness to what services they provide. So anytime that you are out and about, let's use the old saying, a closed mouth don't get fed.
Facts.
So you have to make sure that if it's not your shirt you have on, a pen that you have on, a decal on your car, as weird as they look, but sometimes that's what's needed. And for somebody to scan your QR code and say, you know what, I've been looking for that. Let me book an appointment,
Right.
because now that's more people coming into the business. And then at that point, with that entrepreneur sitting down with their bookkeeper, now we can talk through it, because I had literally had to work with a client and her pricing was off.
Mm,
She couldn't afford her expenses, but these were expenses in order for her to move her business forward. And I'm like, okay, well, you cannot not have these products, right? You cannot have these expenses, because without these expenses, you can't even do your job. So now we need to look at the value of what you're bringing to your customer. Are we charging them enough? So we have to go through that whole process, so that way she increased her prices, so that way she's not feeling burned out at the end of the day.
yeah, it's something that I took it from somebody. I don't even know who I took it from, but it's called MMA, which is money making activities.
Yeah.
And it really when that little acronym, and I love acronyms by nature, so that's my thing. So when the acronym fell on my lap, and I was like, oh my god, it just we have to stay as a business operator in MMA opportunities, money making activities, and all the other stuff you have to delegate, and bookkeeping, to your point, delegate, give it to a professional, someone like yourself that knows the numbers. And then the fact that you have a background of business yourself and just knowing other business owners, you can provide that value, that insight, that maybe, oh, I didn't think of it like that. Oh yeah, you're doing too much, you need to cut this out. Oh, I saw this over here with this business owner, he has success making this transition, you should do the same. Oh, that value and insight is really paramount to help businesses grow quicker and more efficiently. And then eventually, but you have to stay, to your point, you have to stay in money making activities.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think we do have some questions here, and I
Okay.
think that they're more than I anticipated. So I wanted to kind of maybe ask some of these. So I appreciate Jared, great show, so many gold nuggets. So I appreciate that. I've known Yolanda. How long has it been? It's been at least what, 7? Is it 8 years? You
Yeah.
came to
Yeah.
Lombard and you sat down with me, and that was New York Life days.
Yes,
Okay, so it's
it
been,
was.
yes, that's when we first met.
Yeah. I mean, So for me, like I said, I was in corporate for over 20 some odd years. I used to manage call centers. So
Mhm.
that's why the transition for me was something, like you just said, I had to, because I was being very expendable to corporate. You do a good job. We love what you do. However, you know what, you make too much money, we cutting you up out of here. So I was just
Yep.
like, and at the time I had small children. And so I was just like, I can't live like this. And then I
Sure.
learned the power of insurance, right? The things that we have not been fully educated on, understanding how it's called life insurance for a reason. It is not called death insurance. And
Mm.
so, with me sitting down with you was like, okay, you're interacting with people that's getting ready to make one of the biggest decisions of their life for the next 20, well,
Right.
between 15 to 30 years, depending on how you set your mortgage up. We need to ensure that if something happens to you, that your family will still have that home in place. And so that was my strategy behind sitting down with you, to understand that your
Yeah.
clients, again, nobody gets into a mortgage, unfortunately, to not be able to pay for it. So there
Exactly.
are different avenues that you can set up from a life insurance perspective, i.e., a whole life or even an IUL, to ensure that if hard times do fall upon you and you don't have an emergency fund set up, then you can turn around and use something from your life insurance, depending on how you have it set up.
Yeah, I think the hard part just in that whole concept is it is the same client. Insurance, life insurance, mortgage brokers, it's the same client. I just think it's the timing of that client. Like, in my space, you're investing in one of the biggest expenses of your life. And so you're going to have to put, for the most part, people are going to have to put some type of money down.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, thousands, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, and so on and so on amount of money. So sometimes those people are strapped after they've done this expense. They have a hard time, expanding their mind to like, okay, I've done this, now this. They
Mm-hmm.
almost need a
Mm-hmm.
gap in between, and the hard part is transitioning them from that mind shift of saving money, investing in this house. Now they got the house. Now they got all the things that come with the house. All the things after you close,
Yep.
after the little, Facebook picture. Now real life happens,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
know, changing locks and, oh man, bills I got
Water.
to transfer. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Homeowners
real.
insurance and renters. It's just it's a lot. I call them grown folks bills, right?
Yes.
What I would then only my because I have been on the receiving end. I'm sorry, hold on 1 second for me. I forgot to turn my phones off. Jesus. Um, Sorry about that. Because I've been on the receiving end of getting a phone call of someone passing away,
Hmm.
um, within days of closing, is the reason why I stress the importance of looking into getting, even if it's a term policy. I think because we're not properly educated on life insurance and the different products, a term policy can be as low as $20 a month to cover the value of your home that you just invested a lot of money into. Like you said,
Sure.
you just wiped out your savings, you just pull money down from your 401k. Now you're putting yourself in a different tax bracket, so you're going to be taxed different at the end of the year. We can go on and on and on. And so because I've been on that phone call, it's a nerve-wracking, uneasy call to have. And
Sure.
because they did have something in place, guess what? Now that family can grieve without wondering, how is this mortgage going to get paid? Or
Right.
I now got to get out of here because I can't afford it,
Right.
because your partner was the breadwinner. So again, that's not always the case. Most of the time now we have, both parties making enough to carry if something should happen to one or the other. But
Sure.
then there are cases where it's just a single parent or a single that's purchasing. So again, you get into real estate, and this is, to me, from my opinion, how it should be communicated. You're stepping into real estate for the long game, right? Real estate is one of those entities that will always give you a good return on your investment as long as you play nice with it. Okay. And what I
Correct.
mean by that is you're paying your mortgage, you're paying that bill every month. When you play nice with it, it's going to play nice with you. And then you can turn around and pull out a HELOC, or you can go and, do refinance or whatever the case may be to now pull money out of it to go purchase something else. So to me, it should be always a conversation of being added to a portfolio, because again, we got a lot more years behind us that's in front of us. So again, now our conversation should be, what is my retirement strategy? What does that vision look like for me?
Sure.
Even as an entrepreneur, real estate is a entity. I feel that, and in my opinion, everyone should have a piece of it.
Of course.
So understanding that once you get in that space of owning real estate,
Right.
you're not doing, especially if you have a family, right?
Right.
We're creating legacies now. We're trying to make sure that we're rolling something down to our children and grandchildren's children. So understanding that if I'm not here, I still want to make sure that everything that I acquire stays in my name or stays in my family. And then that's when you go into trust and all of that other good stuff. But
Sure.
it should be definitely part of the conversation when people are purchasing, because unfortunately, we don't know when is our last breath. I've even heard of people not even making it to I can use my own personal. When I purchased my home almost 10 years ago, my I guess my closing, it actually got extended because who I was purchasing the home for, he died. Like in the middle of the process.
Yep.
Right? Because you just never know. And so again, we always want to be prepared. Death it brings on a lot of emotions that we didn't even know we had. And that's one thing you just don't want to be worried about. Along with burying somebody, now I got to pack up this house and try to move out.
Last year we had a deal in-house where the guy died in the interim. The seller did.
Yeah.
But the rights to the house went to like 4 kids and 4 different baby mamas. And the one child was still a minor. So we had to get her approval and she had to go to court. She opted not to go to court. So the deal died. I mean, so there's crazy stories out there that happen.
Yes.
And to your point, I just don't, it's sometimes it's just hard for a human being to wrap their head around all these things because we weren't really taught this in school. So it's like, and for most of us, we're all kind of simpletons where it's just one thing at a time, one thing at a time. So it's like, all right, I'm going to get the house. All right, I hear you about the insurance, but give me a little bit. But we don't know if that little bit, it could burn you. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like, to your point, like, you said trust. And I was like, well, when should I get that? When's the best time to get that? I mean, these are questions that people wonder, or they push it off because they like, it's not a imminent priority, but is it? It might be.
It's very important.
Right.
Just like you just mentioned that in-house deal that you had, if that client had a trust set up, you would not have had to go through any of that. So
Correct.
Again, when it comes to when should you talk through a will trust perspective, as soon as you get done with the deed, everything gets switched over to your name.
Right.
Because unfortunately, we don't know when our last time is. We don't. And so to prevent the probate, the stress, the fights, the back and forth, I know he told me I could eliminate all of that. And unfortunately, it happens. No matter how close-knit you think your family is, no matter how you've spoken to people get very good selective amnesia when it comes time down to who's the beneficiary of things. So that's why I say it's helping us. And, for us that understand it, that's why I do my part to educate, right? When I get it. Trust me, I was there. I'm like, how many more pieces of paper do I got to sign? Jesus, you need my blood type and my first child, when you purchase a home. And what, don't forget, send me this, it is a very daunting and exhausting process. but you're fighting through it for a reason. So let's make sure that we fight through it all the way through. And that's why I say when it comes to properly educating on the products of life insurance, that's where we're not doing our due just. Because again, understanding that you just made the biggest purchase of your life and then something happens and now people are trying to scramble of, well, you know what, they did, we just let it go to foreclosure. No.
Yeah.
You know,
you're
that
right.
shouldn't be the mindset.
It
should be, I understand this was a very stressful process, but let's ensure that we ensure this valuable piece that can now bring residuals for your family for a long time, as long as you play nice with it. So.
I remember being a Crete Moni. I was down in Crete with a couple, and this is a long time ago, when I was a life insurance agent and all that stuff. And I was basically just, hey, let's put some money in a Roth IRA, and then hey, let's create some life insurance and call it a day. And the guy was like, man, that's boring. You got any more exciting investments? Like, man, that's boring.
Okay.
But the boring is what works. Mortgages, insurance is, it's not always the sexy talk, but it's the reality of that we all, 80% of us have to do. We have to get some type of financing. We all need insurance to cover our loved ones, to set us up. And to your point, it doesn't have to be death insurance. It can actually be a life benefit to us. It doesn't have to be a death benefit. It can also be a life benefit. So no, I'm with you on that. I think there's it's all back to your financial team.
Yes, very much so.
It's almost like we need to get a diagram and put up all the key people, professionals that you should have around you. They don't have to go to the bar mitzvah. They don't have to go to your kid's 13-year-old graduation party. But when it's time to have that conversation, you call them.
Absolutely.
And hopefully they're calling you. They're calling me. And we get it done. So let's give out your contact information. This has been a quick hour. It's already 56 minutes
right?
past.
Man.
We're going to have to do this again. I hope you know that.
Look, I'm here for it. I'm here to educate. Like I said, we don't know what we don't know as entrepreneurs. Sure. And even individuals that work W-2s, right? That whole W-4 form has jacked some people up, baby. Because they've made changes to it. And then when you go to file your taxes, you're trying to figure out why you owe. And that's because they've made changes to it. So again, I'm definitely here for it. Let me know when the next time. You can find me on IG as well as Facebook, and it's Fix It, FIXITFIN Solutions. So that's both for IG as well as Facebook. And are we giving numbers out? What are we doing?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I didn't know, y'all. I just didn't know. Okay. So to reach me by phone, you can call 708-539-2439. Again, that number is 708-539-2439.
No, that's great. We're going to definitely have you back on. We had a kind of an idea of some of the stuff we were going to touch. We didn't even really kind of get to it, but I knew I've just known you for some years now. We've always had great conversations. I knew we could just flow, and we really just, and that's what we did today. It was great. And just a reminder, folks, we do have a new episode of our interview sessions on Wednesday. So, check out YouTube, Epic Spotlight. You'll check out a new interview on Wednesday. And then it's funny, I have a video that'll be coming out this Friday, Wealth Builder. We're talking about some of the stuff you were talking about with the HELOCs and the refinance and the stuff like that. So I do tips on Fridays to leave someone, to watch it over the weekend, something to think about. So Epic Spotlight, obviously, definitely tell your friends and family, go ahead and share this. And share this to any business owners that you know. I think that's important. Absolutely. Any business owners that you know, share this with them. It's important. It's good information. Definitely have them set up an appointment with Yolanda so she can do some bookkeeping and just give you what your options are. I think I'm going to be calling Yolanda and asking her because I definitely want that accountability partner. I think it's so important to have someone that you trust and that can look at the books, actually do the books potentially for you and give you some ideas, because I think, especially as a small business owner, man, we wear about 7 different hats.
Is it 7? I thought it was 15.
Man, I wrote a list of just every little thing from payroll to
Woo!
HR, man, to marketing manager. So I mean, there's a lot of hats you wear as a business owner. So if you can take one off your
The
plate,
plate.
that
It's
would definitely be
huge.
something to do. Definitely something to do. And I want to say thank you to all these people that did comments and stuff along the way. Appreciate it. I thought the conversation was good. I think these will populate, and hopefully that they do. I will go ahead and try to respond to some of these, off when we get off. But our hour is done, and I want people to stay hungry for knowledge. That's the whole thing. It's a lunch and
Please.
learn. Stay hungry for knowledge because it's so important for you, your family, and your business. And anything else, Yolanda?
Again, I look forward to doing this again. Again, make sure that you guys are vetting your bookkeepers. Make sure that you're asking questions. Just because I say I'm QuickBooks certified does not mean they know what they're doing. Okay. I'm a little biased because I am QuickBooks certified, but there are tons of different software out there. So every small business owner, please get some type of accounting software to track your expenses. If you're not tracking it, you cannot know if your business is doing well or not.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate you. We'll be on the lookout for Epic Spotlight. We'll have something new on Wednesday, and we're starting to do shorts too, so you can take a look at some of the clips from the interviews that we've done. So thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you and have a great week.